You can keep your stinking rose. Welcome to Play in the Field, a Bachelor podcast. I'm Ryan Field, your host, the sports anchor here at WABC in New York City. Joined now, as always, by our good friends Jen Matarese, our Bachelor insider from here in New York, and our Bachelor expert out there at KABC in Los Angeles. Welcome back, Gina. I can't speak for Jen, but I definitely missed you last week.
She missed me too. I did. Know. It's okay.
I did. I couldn't remember season numbers or bachelors.
I have never seen Jen so confused. She thought some of the contestants were from Jesse's season like 20 years ago.
That's not
It was very puzzling to me.
Now.
She's supposed to be our Bachelor expert.
I know.
I'm sorry I missed you guys, but I was traveling for work, so I had a.
By the way, we all agreed that you have the best job at ABC.
I agree too.
Wow, she agreed.
I do have the best job. I do have the best.
Hold on,
job.
is this the first time that Gina and I have ever agreed on this podcast? I think
it may be. It may be.
It only took 5 seasons.
But I love that it was about me.
Yeah, of course. I feel like that's the secret sauce here to get you to agree with me. Yes,
it's all about
let's talk about how great Gina is. How great of an episode was that? A lot to digest.
Yes.
Now listen, for our listeners, and we very much appreciate your support through our 5 seasons. As you well know, I've alluded to this. I've never really been a Bachelor in Paradise guy. So I've always been very loyal to the Bachelor franchise in the original Bachelor. So I'm kind of diving into Paradise for the first time. And as a quote-unquote first-time viewer, I find all this to be very fascinating, how all of this is unfolding and the little games that they play. And it's one of those things where the thing I like about the show, I love how it's edited. I love the soundtrack. It's got like a sexy vibe to it. It doesn't even feel like it's the same franchise based on what you see with The Bachelor and Bachelorette.
It's definitely its own thing.
It's its own thing. And just when you think you know what's going to happen, the complete opposite happens. And we saw that in this episode firsthand.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll get to the rose ceremony.
Yeah,
that
right.
definitely ripped the rug out from you.
Absolutely.
I love this show. I mean, I like that this season they're bringing back some of the Bachelor Pad game elements of what was before Bachelor in Paradise. So they're kind of like, I don't know, Gina, do you feel like they kind of blended it a little bit?
Kind of like the best of both worlds, Gina?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, look, I think that we all know that, as far as dating shows in the summer and dating shows in general, there's a lot of competition out there. And so I think that Bachelor in Paradise was definitely due for a refresh. And this season has been that. And it's been, so far, really fun to watch.
And listen, Gina caught up with Jess as part of her exploits over the last week or so, traveling the world, getting all of our exclusive interviews, which we very much appreciate. We're going to have that interview here for you shortly. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we talked about this kind of last week, how it's almost like an all-star team where you take like the best from all these different seasons and bring them together. And it's fascinating now to watch them all coexist. And we had 4 surprises, 4 new women come this episode, and what did you make of all that in terms of who came back? Any surprises? Were you surprised to see anybody come back?
Well, I mean, later on, I'm surprised to see Jill just because she's a blast from the past. And same with Susie. I mean, that was the big bombshell because it's like, oh, there's Justin's ex. They just broke up 4 months ago, and here she is on the beach. He's just trying to do his best with Lexi, that poor girl who's like, I don't want to get in the middle of your whole breakup situation, but it was nice to see them again. I feel kind of like they didn't have the best time.
Gina, what was your...
We should have all seen it coming.
Yeah.
We should have all seen it coming because all Lexi and Justin were talking about was the breakup.
Yeah.
And like how it was going to affect. So it's like, oh, that's some major foreshadowing because of course she's going to show up. How and when, I think we were all just kind of waiting, but it was kind of like, it looked like to be a given that she was going to show up.
Now, I guess that was my question as I was watching this, and, I can never watch an episode of any sort of Bachelor without thinking about my 2 favorite co-hosts and the questions that I'm going to ask them. Did we think that Lexi knew that she was coming into Paradise?
I don't think she knew.
You don't think she knew?
She knew. She probably had a hunch. I mean, look, women's intuition, as you know from hanging with the 2 of us.
For better or for worse?
We know things. And, I'm sure that she knew in some way, in some form, Susie was going to pop back up. I mean, maybe not officially, but
Even after their breakup, they said they were friends, and he said he still talked to her. And she was hesitant because she's like, I don't know if I want to get involved with someone who's like really good friends and
still
regularly talks.
communicating.
Yeah,
right.
it's their ex. That is
And
a complication.
who could blame her?
Yeah.
Who could blame her?
That's rough.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I'm over is Brian.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I didn't like him on Jen season. The whole thing with the car.
I know.
What do kids say these days? D-bag? Is that what we call him? Let's just call it like it is. Let's just call it like it is.
I mean, Parisa, she's like such a nice girl. She really is.
She's from Michigan, so I know she's good people.
When Gina and I spoke to her a while back, and I just thought she was incredibly, sweet and charming. And I know that she came on a little strong with that PowerPoint on Grant season. But,
apparently this is a thing people, like, women do. Like, the youngsters. I don't do this. But apparently this is, like, a thing that they do.
PowerPoint?
I don't know.
Oh, like with their friends where they, like, make presentations for fun on Instagram.
Yeah.
I did like the game that she played with Brian. Like I just got arrested. Let's play hypothetical. I thought that was cute.
Everyone should do that.
Yeah, right. How will you respond to a traumatic situation? Let's find out on date number 2, so we can get this out of the way.
Rip off the Band-Aid.
Rip off the Band-Aid, exactly.
Exactly.
But it's one of those things where Gina, and I think the person who ends up looking bad in all this, and I totally get where she's coming from, is Zoe, because you have to know you're getting into the Bachelor in Paradise, and you've been talking to Brian for a day and a half. You know there's going to be more women coming in, so I guess she's the victim of her own I fell too hard too fast. But don't you have to kind of play the game, as we like to say, Gina, when you know you're coming on a show like this in talking about Zoe?
Yeah, I think so, and I do think that I think that she got a bad rap. A very bad rap, during Grant season. And I think she was trying to redeem herself, but it's, as far as like what she was looking for. And I feel like, I don't know, Brian kind of let her on, which unshocking because Brian is just that guy. He plays the game to get what he wants, and he just...
Yeah, but I think he was playing the game. But he got what he wanted. I mean, they made out. I mean, I think he was just like, I think he was genuinely interested in her night 1. And he was like, hey, let's see where this goes. And then somebody showed up and he's like, hey, let's see where this goes. And then he ended up having a better connection with Parisa.
I think that Sorry.
Go ahead,
I think their conversations went a little deeper than just like getting to know you stuff with Zoe, because they were talking about we're going to have tall basketball kids and things like that.
Exactly.
And I know they're just kidding around, but still, like I think that he sort of like he seems like a love bomber early on.
Love bomber,
and then
yes.
he kind of like she's like, you didn't even say hi to me, and she is correct. He did not say hi to her at breakfast.
He did not handle that well at all. I agree.
Like pulled he flipped a switch.
So you can see why she's hurt. So you can see why she would be hurt.
I would be.
Maybe she didn't word it the right way, but you can see why she would be a little angry because it's like, what you're like we're talking about all this important stuff, and then all of a sudden, not 12 hours later, you're acting as if I'm not here.
And it was gaslighting.
That's on Brian.
It was gaslighting. He'd be like, "You're not. You don't know what you're talking about," kind of thing. Like you're not. Like you don't know what you're feeling, And it's like, yes, she does. She knows she's right, and she was right. We all knew.
She was right.
We all knew he was more into Parisa. He even admitted it. And I'm like, oh, when is he going to pull her and just put it out there? I was so relieved when he finally did, because enough was enough. Like, it just was painful.
Yeah, I just feel like in hearing some of the other women, they're like, I want to keep my options open.
Sure.
I kind of want to, see how this is all going to unfold. Where she just jumped straight in, and I just felt like her strategy should have been a little bit different coming into this. Now, if they had been dating, if we were on like episode 8, and they're still like hot and heavy, and then a new girl comes in and he ghosts her, I'm like, okay, I could see that. But again, that's not to excuse his behavior, because he did not handle it the right way at all.
It's just the way he did it.
Yes.
Like, it's just the... Like,
and that's why he's so unlikable. Yes. That is right.
It's
Brian,
it's not what you said, it's how you said
That's
it.
exactly it.
Yes.
You know who is likable is everybody's friend,
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Gina, your boy gets the heart of the year going out with Jill, and I love how he basically said, well, he said it to Alexis.
Yes.
He said, listen,
Alex.
Sorry. He said it to Alex. He's like, she may not be here for another night, so I'm just going to make sure she has a good last night in paradise. And Alex was like, okay, have fun. See you later. Da-da-da-da.
Gosh, I know.
Yeah. I mean, he is ultimately, I think this show just shows kind of what we've already known, is that he's a good guy. And, I think that it's very sweet. And he did have fun with Jill. You know what I mean? They had a good time. I think that Jonathan's that guy that I think a lot of the girls are going to be like, oh, he could be very interesting. And, and they all seem to be doing that. We'll see where his connection with Alex goes. I think that
Jen and I are bullshit.
We'll see.
Wells is like, I've been doing this for a long time.
That's not going to happen.
There's no chemistry there. She's very awkward around him.
And
like the whole thing is weird.
Putting him at his
arm's
length.
She's kind of awkward around a lot of people. She's kind of like that. She's a little bit too goofy for him. He's definitely wanting to be more serious.
Goofy, haha, with Dale, all. And then with Jonathan, she's like, I can see your deodorant.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean? Like all this sort of stuff.
And she was like, you're talking way too seriously right now. It's making me uncomfortable. Like, I don't know. The whole thing was just weird.
No, she's keeping him in like a friend zone, but yet we'll make out with him a little bit.
So we'll see what happens. And that brings us to Dale. What do we make of his predicament? I mean, obviously, Allie Joe's shooting her shot. And, we didn't even really talk about this yet, the chemistry test. Has that ever happened before on one of these shows where you get to swipe right, basically, and make out with whoever you match with?
I don't think that many, no.
I don't think that.
Is this, because I was wondering that because I didn't watch Bachelor Pad and didn't get into Paradise. So I was like, is this a new thing? Okay. And I was very curious to get both of your thoughts on this. Knowing how you feel about dating and everything else. Do you ladies approve of this sort of behavior where you get to make out with 4 people in a matter of 10 minutes?
Day 1, day 2, sure. Wait, this is paradise, right? This is paradise.
Why not?
It's just a kiss.
I felt bad for Jeremy.
I did not.
The PA shows up. He's like, yeah, bro, sorry. There's no more women coming.
That was hilarious. I was dying for that time because he's like, I'm keeping my options open. I'm like, you have Bailey. She's great.
I like Bailey a lot.
She's a fun, smart girl, right?
I like Bailey a lot.
Beautiful.
They make an interesting couple.
They do.
Like, they make a really interesting couple. I think they could be cute.
And I'm glad he picked her in the rose ceremony.
And it's like, I get him wanting to keep his options open, like you said, because it's early.
Yep.
It's very early. But I don't know. His tone about keeping his options open, Jonathan's tone, and Brian's tone were all very different.
Yeah.
And I think Jonathan won that.
Well, basically, basically the only switcheroo that came from the makeout sesh was Brian going with Parisa. Right. Mm-hmm. That was basically the only swap, if you will, in terms of people changing their mind. Is that correct? As you check the stats
I'm
of
just
the
double checking. Yeah,
as she checks her notes,
it appears to be so.
It appears to be so. It is factually correct. All that to say, I liked it. I mean, obviously, a kiss can go a long way, as they talked about in describing your chemistry with someone and making you feel a certain type of way.
Yeah. What did you think about how Lexi handled it with
I thought Lexi. I think Lexi is kind of like Alex and Jonathan. I think their whole situation is very awkward, and I think part of it is because of the Susie situation, but I think another part of it is I just don't know if she's that into him. That's my vibe on it.
I was talking about that earlier with Sarah, one of our planning producers and everything, and I thought that she just sort of wasn't ready for all of that. She didn't want to get involved in their situation, and she sensed it was still going on. But I also think Justin knew that it wasn't quite going his way, and maybe that's why he did what he did in the rose ceremony.
Well, we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
One couple we know is going to be in it to win it is Jess and Spencer.
I love them.
And Gina had a chance to catch up with Jess. When was this, Gina? Last week?
It was Friday.
Okay, so it was last week, and here was their conversation.
What were you expecting when you went in, and then was it the reality that you faced?
I tried to go in with no expectations because this is kind of sad, but like I don't want to be let down. So I'm like, you know what? If I go and I'm just like, hopefully there'll be someone there, but if not, at least I'll see my friends and hopefully have a good day or two, and then I'll get to go back home and see my dog. You know what I mean? So I was just really trying to stay positive. And then right off the bat, walking in and seeing Spencer, I was like, oh yes, here we go. He was my number one on my radar, and seeing him, I was like, all right, okay, we really got to kick it into high gear.
we've got this. Wait, let's
No, I'm like, wait, you guys, who has my lip gloss?
Oh my God. It must have felt like, did you know, like when you saw him immediately that like, oh yeah, this could be a little something
Well,
between us
I
rappers.
felt it, but I was like, I don't know if he's gonna like, maybe I'm not his type. Maybe he's not gonna like my personality. So I was really just like, I'm gonna get in there and talk to him as soon as possible so that we can see if, we click.
And it seemed like you did.
Yeah.
What was the first thing about Spencer that you were like, yep?
He was just so bubbly. Like, obviously, he's super attractive. And on Gen season, we saw that he was, very emotionally intelligent. He had all of his ducks in a row and a lot going for him, but you don't really see much of his personality, I'm gonna say, because immediately I'm like, wow, you are so bubbly and you're kind of funny. I don't want to give him too much credit, but like he's pretty funny.
Going back to episode 1, you were a little without drama because you had a little love triangle going on. Sam comes in, were you just immediately like, okay, wait a minute, this guy's he's interesting. Were you worried about your feelings for Spencer, or were you just kind of like, I'm here to explore, let's do this?
I think it was honestly a little bit of both. To be honest, I think that part of me was like, oh, well, he definitely could be interesting. Like, he's attractive. I want to have a conversation. But I was like, I already clicked with this person so much. Like, you don't, like, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So I don't want to be put in a situation where I'm giving someone else too much time and then my first connection is no more. So I think it was really important for me to have that conversation with Spencer right after I talked to Sam. I didn't know if he was going to take me on the date or not, but I kind of felt the vibe. So I'm like, I'm going to pull him, which you don't even really get to see that. But I'm like, I want to see his thoughts and see how he feels about it and go from there.
It's so funny. When I saw that he was going to be on, I was like, well, this is interesting. Are they trying to do a little redemption arc for him? Because I know that there was just so much drama around him during Gen season. Being a part of Bachelor Nation, you probably knew some of that. Were you just kind of like, I'm going to give everybody like, clean slate here. This is kind of a new thing. Yeah. Where you're just like, I'm going to give him a chance and see how it goes.
100%, because that's exactly what I wanted everyone to do for me. So like no preconceived judgments at all. Clean slate. I don't care what happened on your season. Show me you.
And Gina, what did you take away from your talk with Miss Jessica?
I have to tell you, when we saw Jess first in Joey's season, she kind of came in as a little bit of a troublemaker. And I feel like I know my perception, and I'm sure a lot of people's perception about her has totally changed with Paradise. She told me she went in with an open mind, like, especially with the Sam situation, she went in with an open mind because she knew he was a troublemaker. And because she wanted to just like let everybody have a clean slate, just as she would want, people to have for her. And I'm glad that she's getting that. And she lights up when she talks about Spencer. So just from that little bit alone, I'm like, they might still be together and they could go the distance.
Ooh.
I hope they do.
I know.
They are a good match. There's no doubt about that.
They're
Personality-wise,
really cute together.
Super cute together. The whole thing just works.
I was worried Allie Jo was going to kind of try to get in the middle of her situation because I kind of thought they had similar personalities. Jess and Ellie Jo, but they never really interacted, so yeah, didn't have to worry about that.
Didn't have to worry about that. One thing we did have to worry about was Susie coming back in with the Justin situation, which last topic of conversation here takes us to the rose ceremony, and your level of shock when she refused the rose. I go to my two experts here. Your level
Gina,
of shock. Gina,
first.
start us off.
I might have dropped the remote.
Wow.
I was kind of a little surprised. I was surprised that he did it. I think just as surprised as Lexi was, and just as surprised as Susie was.
But you're surprised that he did it, but how surprised were you that she refused it? Even probably more surprised.
I actually was. I think that says a lot about Susie, where it's like, no, man, don't do this. Don't mess up a connection. And I think Lexi and her having that, like, I didn't know he was going to do this, like, I feel like that part of it was interesting. The Lexi and Susie aspect, and their reactions to him, because, she was just like, Lexi was like, it's okay, I get it. And this is why Lexi was trying to keep her kind of heart closed off, because she knew something like this could happen.
And it did.
You have your your ex, you have your ex in there, that you have had this very tumultuous relationship with, and now she's here, and who knows? And I get his explanation, but also, like, I don't know, man, that just, like, you'll never get Lexi now. As much as you thought, like, to me, like, if I was Lexi,
I don't think he was going to get her in the lineup.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think Lexi just picked him because out of all the guys that were there, she kind of liked him the most, but I don't think she was feeling anybody.
No, and I also think that, I think Susie could have taken an extra beat and been like, wait, is this for a friend? Like, are we friends?
Right.
Like, or how do you mean this rose? And I think she should have taken it, because now it's going to go to waste. Usually they just set the road aside.
Well, I was going to ask you next. So now what happens? They left us on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
We're going to see.
We'll have to wait and see, but in past episodes, when someone refuses a rose, the rose usually goes away.
Okay.
So
that means only 4 women would stay then, right?
That would
Because
be
there was
5.
5 women would stay, right? Because it was 6 guys.
Unless they keep it and decide
so
to...
what? Lexi, Susie, and Justin could all leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we have the Goldens coming in.
The Goldens coming in, which we're super excited
more
about.
Roses.
And who are we going to have on the podcast this week?
Kathy.
Kathy's
so
going to join us later this week. A nice treat for all of us. A double episode week of Playing the Field. An interview with Kathy coming up, getting her take on the Goldens. And Gina, your level, we didn't get a chance to talk to you about this last week, but just kind of your level of excitement seeing our good friends from the Golden Bachelor and Bachelorette joining Paradise.
They're going to be so much fun. Look, we know just from having interviewed them, throughout their seasons, that they're just happy, and they just want to have, like, a good time. And to me, seeing, like, Keith and Jack and, Kathy and April and, whoever else is coming through, and Leslie and Faith, like, I think they're just going to have fun, and I think they're going to bring a new energy to the beach, and I think it's going to be interesting to see.
I think they'll lighten it up, because I think things were starting,
Yes,
especially
they're
with
coming at the right time.
Yeah, with Justin and Susie, I think it's time to bring in some new life.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and we can't wait.
In episode 3.
Episode 3, right. Well, listen, and these
yourselves.
episodes are 3 hours long. Is this going to be the case the rest of the summer?
Probably.
I mean, you talk about allotting some time in your day to watch The Bachelor in Paradise.
Your evenings are planned.
Your evenings are planned. Yeah, I can't.
No watching any other shows.
And now there's 2
on
episodes to
Monday
watch this week, and lucky for all of us, 2 episodes of Playing the Field, and we will be back with Kathy later this week. We are looking forward to that. Thank you all so much for being here. As always, this is Jen, and that's Gina. I'm Ryan. We'll see you next time on Playing the Field.